Today we are going to talk about advertising and what are the different steps in advertising and details about advertising. So as we have seen, advertising is any form of non-personal presentation and promotion of ideas, goods or services by an identified sponsor. So in advertising parlance, we talk about client. Identified sponsor is a client, a person who's got something to say about his own company, his product, his brand, etc., etc. So he gives an advertisement, maybe in a newspaper, TV, press, any other publications. Uh, that is all non-personal in nature because you are not directly contacting the customer. And the second thing, it is mass in nature because you are not talking one-on-one. It is you are talking one to many. So advertising is used by business firms, profit organizations, corporates. It is used by non-profit organizations these days, like even your churches and stuff, churches, temples, NGOs, all these people. Then it is used by professionals, as in people like chartered accountants and stuff. But they are not supposed to. Many of them are not supposed to. So whoever is allowed, they do that. And social agencies. So these are the people who do advertising. Now, what are the major decisions in advertising? First, like I was saying earlier, anything you are going to do, you have to set objectives. You have to plan. That is something that we lack these days, especially in India and Kerala. You don't set objectives, and because you don't set objectives, you go fast nowhere. You are doing stuff, but you don't know where you're going. So that is the first step. You have to set objectives. Once you have set the objectives, then you know what are the things that you have to do. So you have to decide what is a budget decision. So what is the budget that you're going to allocate? Uh, and then you have, once you have the budget, let us say you take the different kinds of methods like say whatever you can afford, or percentage of sales, or task and objective method, whatever be the objective. You set a budget, then based on that you take message decisions. What is the thing that you're going to say, how are you going to say it, and what is the kind of appeal that you're going to use, all these kind of stuff. And then you have the media decisions, which media to go for. Are you going for TV? Are you going for press? Are you going for digital? What is the media that you're going to go for? And then once you have done the campaign, which is the next step, which is implementation, then you go for evaluation to find out whether whatever you have set objectives, whether those subject objectives have been achieved, and whether you have done things according to what you're planning. So we will just look at how do we set objectives. Uh, so advertising objectives means you have a specific communication task, what we call uh, defining the task. And once you have, and this task is based on what is your specific target audience and during what specific period of time. So these are the things you have to set. Whenever you are setting some targets, obviously it has to be smart. So it has to be specific, measurable, achievable, and time oriented. So you have to decide what is the time specifications, who's your target audience, and based on that, what is the task that you are looking at. So it can be informative advertising. You are just informing people that you are there. Maybe you are at the growth stage, or maybe even the introductory stage of your life cycle, and you want to inform people that because they are not aware about your product, so you want to inform that your product is there, and inform also them to them what are the features of the product, what is the benefits that you will get out of the product. All these things you'll have to do. Then you get into persuasive advertising, where you're actually persuading people to buy your product or come into your showroom, whatever is your objective. And for that, you have to decide what is that the people are looking at, what is their needs and wants, what is that is there in your product which will satisfy those needs, and what in what way is your product superior to your competitors. And these you have to tell the customers and persuade them to buy your product. Then you have comparison advertising. You compare one brand to the other. You have to be careful on this because then federal trade organization laws come into the picture. You have to ensure that you're not going against laws any this thing, but you can compare as in what way your brand is superior to your competitors. Reminder advertising, where you are reminding the people that look, I am here. Maybe you are at the maturity stage of the life cycle, and people already are buying your products. You're the top of the heap. Maybe you are doing very well. But you have reached a plateau. So you remind people that you're there. It is more of a maintenance level of advertising that you're doing. Maintain the sales that is there. So that is what reminder advertising. And then the last of the things that you are looking at is image building advertising. So you want to build the image of the company, you want to increase the image of the company, take the image from this point to this point. That is what you are doing. So these are some of the objectives that you have as far as advertising is concerned. There is a particular thing called DAGMAR. DAGMAR approach is a model developed by Russell Colley for setting advertising objectives and measuring the results for an advertising agent. The full form of DAGMAR is defined advertising goals for measured advertising results. What he says is that you should measure results. It is not that not enough that you give an advertisement and say that okay, it is effective because of these reasons. You have to clearly measure it, and for that you have to clearly define not only the advertising goals but also how you can measure it, and you should actually go and measure it and find out whether the results are there. So here, essentially, we are saying that we are looking at awareness, comprehension, conviction, and action. These are the steps in actually uh, in advertising per se. You are creating an awareness about the product. Then there is comprehension that is happening. The people who are reading the advertisements comprehend it. Then they are convinced that your product is good, and they take action. This is something that again there are different models that are there. This is another model that yesterday we had talked about awareness model, buyer readiness. Sorry, yeah, buyer readiness model. We talked about ADA theory. This is another theory model that is there. So advertising objective should be stated in specific and measurable communication tasks. It must specify a target audience. It must set a standard or benchmark and specify the result change against which results can be measured. It must specify a specific time period for achieving the objectives. Smart as we say it. So these are the details about advertising, setting advertising objectives, and DACMAR is one of the models that you use for setting advertising objectives.